love TBR games. I love watching people playing their own TBR games, and I love playing my own. I have tried playing other people's TBR games a couple of times before, I think, but I don't know, my reading way of life, what do you call it? The way I read and the way I source my books doesn't really lend itself well to a lot of people's TBR games, because I don't have a huge physical TBR. I think I have about 10 or 12 books on my physical TBR shelf right now. I get like 90% of my books from the library because I'm too cheap to buy books, because I am coming out of like a 2-3 year reading slump where I hardly gave any books at all 5 stars. So I don't want to spend my money on something that is gonna be mediocre. I feel like I am coming out of that right now, and I did just buy a book the other day, so there's hope ahead, but still not enough that I want to invest in a ton of books just for the sake of it. So when I made my TBR game, I of course tailored it to things that would be pretty easy to get from the library, and it doesn't have really specific prompts. I struggle a lot with especially cover specific prompts, because I can't look at the cover when I don't have the book. And like a certain page number and stuff. I mean, that's all that information is online, but sometimes it's online and then when you get the edition of the book, it's not the same. But anyways, I digress. The point is, I love playing other people's TBR games, but I don't want to play them monthly. So I have taken inspiration from Amanda over at the Reading and Writing Life on YouTube. She plays other people's TBR games, and then she makes a TBR, and then she makes that TBR a challenge or a list in her TBR game. I hope that makes sense. So for example, I'm playing a TBR game today, then I'll take note of that TBR, and instead of reading it this month, I'm going to put it somewhere on my TBR game, for example here, or I might put it under list, like a list of books. So when I get that one, I will flip to the TBR that we're gonna make today, and that will be it. And then once I have finished that specific TBR for that specific TBR game, I can play that again and make a new TBR. Because I do want to play people's TBR games because they look like so much fun. But this way I can be a bit more, it can be a bit more curated to my reading way of life. That was super long-winded, but I hope it made sense. And today I really want to try Emily from McGinnis Mamas on McGinnis Mama on YouTube. I want to try her TBR game, which is called Roll the Dice with a Dash of Chaos, and it's really fun. Again, I don't have a ton of physical books around, so I'm going to use my Storygraph TBR. She has challenges and prompts in tops in her TBR, and I'm going to adjust that a little bit. So I'm going to roll 2 dice, and if I get a double with evens, then I'm going to use my prompt jar, and if I get a double with odds, I'm going to use my TBR jar. And for every double I roll, I'm going to add 1 roll. And otherwise I'm just going to count them down. I filtered my TBR list by title from A to Z, because I thought that would be a good mix of everything I've added over the years. And I think I'm going to start with 5 or 6. It's crazy. 5 or 6 rolls. I haven't quite decided yet. Okay, let's go for 6 rolls, because why not? So I'm going to roll now. So number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Animals at Lockwood Manor. This was all over the place like a couple of years ago, but I can't remember what it's about. Right, so it's a museum curator that evacuates with her collection to Lockwood Manor, and it's dark and mysterious, and yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. And roll number 3. A 3. Oh. Got it. 1, 2, 3. The Astonishing Color of After. As far as I remember, this is a book about grief when a daughter is convinced that her mom, who has committed suicide, turned into a bird. And roll number 5. And we got our first double. It was odd numbers, so we're going to use my TBR jar. This has all the books in my library as of December 2023, because I really want to reread all of them and decide if they are actually worth keeping. So Chocolate, I think it's just called, by Joanne Harris. This is one of my favorites, so that should stay on my shelves, but excited to read it anyway. And row number 6. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. This is an account of the destruction and genocide of the American Indians during the 19th century. As a kid, I was fascinated with Indians, and I think it's always good to learn more. And then we have potentially the last roll. Yep, a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Color of Law, a forgotten history of how our government segregated America. It seems to be about how the segregation in American cities wasn't so much a result of like prejudice and income difference as it was actual law, because the laws that were passed were promoting discriminatory patterns. So that should be interesting to see and learn more about. That is the final list for Roll the Dice game. 7 books is not so bad, so I was gonna say let's see how quickly we can finish this, but I have a ton of other things that I need to finish, like Our Fantasy and the Hardest Reading Challenge You'll Ever Do, and my own, finishing my old TBR, so realistically this is gonna be a while until these are done. But yeah,